is January 17th, day after Martin Luther King Day. So hope you guys, pay respects to them and, all the good stuff that he did to help out, to make this country great. So, so tonight we're going to start our divisional playoff round now until 7:30. We're going to bring in Josh, real quick here. Josh Klingler, who is the sideline reporter for the Chiefs Radio Network out there in beautiful Kansas City, Missouri. So we bring in Josh. I know he's pretty a busy man. Hi, Josh. Thank you so much for being on call. I appreciate it.
Good evening. How is everybody doing?
Doing great.
Good job.
Thank you so much for coming. I'm a big Chiefs fan here in Baltimore. Since I was a kid, I enjoyed Joe Montana when he got traded to Kansas City. So I have basically everything in my closet, more Kansas City stuff than 49er stuff. So it was a little hard with the Super Bowl a couple years ago. With the 49ers and Chiefs. My mom's like, who are you going to wear? I'm like, I don't know. It's Montana Bowl. That's what I called it. Yeah. So talk about this game coming up on Saturday night against the Jaguars. They're rolling in after a thrilling win.
Yeah, it feels like a kind of a game about the coaches, at least to start anyway. Doug Peterson was obviously Andy Reid's first quarterback in Philadelphia, was on his staff in Philadelphia and then in Kansas City before moving on back to Philly as the Eagles head coach. So these two guys know each other very, very well. I think to a certain extent, Doug Peterson will do some of the things we've seen Andy Reid do, which is be very creative on offense. I don't want to say risky, but I think he's probably a little more of a gambler maybe than Andy Reid in that respect. And I got to imagine that Jacksonville's going to come in feeling like, why not us? Why not now? And they got kind of nothing to lose. Can play free and easy. We'll probably pull out a whole bunch of stops and try to, do some things to flip the game against the Chiefs. They played them back in Week 10. I don't know how much of that game really factors in to this one, but they did have a surprise onside kick. So I think the Chiefs are fully expecting a lot of trickery and a lot of creativity. I wouldn't be shocked if they pull something out of their playbook we haven't seen on film, or that they had worked on back in training camp, something like that. Although I could say the same thing for the Chiefs. They've been known to obviously pull some things out of the bag of tricks, including that snow globe play against the Raiders in the last game of the regular season. So it could be a lot of fun if both offensive minds get a little creative in this one.
Yeah, Josh, with that touchdown, it looked pretty cool with the what they did with the Raiders, but Orlando Brown got called for holding, or did the refs didn't know what to do because they never saw that before.
Yeah, I think that's what everybody's wondering. Like, I don't know if you kind of can give the referees a heads up sometimes, like, watch out for this. It is legal, but I don't know how much heads up they gave. And yeah, there was a lot of confusion because everybody's like, did this just really happen? So unfortunately, it didn't go for a touchdown. It was one of those great plays that didn't go for anything, didn't count as anything other than a hold, but they did score in the very next play. But it's just a perfect example, I think, of Andy Reid, where he lets his guys be creative. That's a play that was kind of dialed up by the team, and they try to get stuff in the playbook if they can, and it really keeps the players engaged and locked into what they're doing. And I think at a perfect time of the season too. The Chiefs have been we've kind of joked that it's been the AFC Championship game's been the Arrowhead Invitational, and so they expect to go a long ways every year now. And so do they get a little bit maybe bored towards the tail end of the regular season? Possibly. And I think that was the perfect way to kind of get everybody engaged, let them be creative, let them have some fun, and we'll see if something, I don't think quite that crazy, but if they get a little creative on offense, again, this game could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, Josh, and at that game, Jacksonville was really 3-6, and after they lost to the Chiefs, they're 3-7, and everybody thought they were gone. They're like, oh god, this is back to their old way of Jacksonville, and then they played the Ravens tough after that. They beat the Titans. It seems like in the fourth quarter they the Jaguars have been better in the fourth quarter than literally in the first three quarters.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely the key. That won't be the same team they saw in week number 10 for sure. Obviously, offensively, I think they're very capable. Their skill guys are really good. Christian Kirk's had a very nice year. I think the tight end can be a problem as well. ETN is 1,100 yards on the ground, so they can be very capable in the run game, and then they don't turn the football over. And I think that will be an absolute key. That despite the fact that last week Trevor Lawrence had the 4 picks, he had just 8 in the regular season. So they haven't really been a team that's turned the football over. That will be a major factor. The Chiefs have I think, especially down the stretch, maybe turned it over a little bit more than people would like them to, and maybe kept a couple teams in games because of those turnovers. So playing mistake-free football, they're a pretty tough team to beat. And so I think that's going to be obviously a big key either way. Jacksonville to not turn it over to stay in the ball game, and I think the Chiefs maybe not to turn it over to keep somebody possibly in a ball game.
Adam, you had a question for
first of all, Josh, not only are you the Chiefs sideline reporter, but you also do play-by-play for the Kansas Jayhawks. So, Rock, Chalk, Jayhawk, KU.
So we have a KC and a Montana fan and a KU fan in the house?
Yes.
Not bad.
All right, Josh. What's it like working with the living legend like Mitch Holthus during Kansas City Chiefs games? I mean, everybody knows who he is. He's well-loved in Chiefs Nation. So what's it like working with Mitch on game day?
Yeah, he's unbelievable. And I don't know that there's anybody more prepared for a broadcast than Mitch Holthus. He watches a ton of tape. He delves into the stats, but he's also got a great sense of humor and a great sense of history. And I don't know there's anybody more prepared for a broadcast than him. I know I've learned a lot in that respect for, the other stuff that I may do in terms of preparation, because I don't think anybody does it better. And his encyclopedia of a brain as well for keeping up with statistics and especially the last few years when Mahomes is breaking like so many different records. Kelsey's doing the same thing. He's always kind of paying attention to what the next kind of mile marker is for those guys and is always on top of it. So yeah, it's really, really solid. He's just a true pro. I biased, but I think we have one of the best sounding broadcasts, I think, in the NFL. I have a very small part of it during the game, but I think if I talk a lot, it's because too many people are injured. So they want to keep me quiet as much as possible. But I just think the broadcast sounds great, and I'm saying that this is my 3rd season with the Chiefs, but I was a listener before that and a fan, and so to be able to join what I think was one of the better sounding broadcasts in all of the NFL has been a blast.
That's awesome. That's great. That's cool. And you were a fan, and also you got the job as a sideline reporter, and you're like, this is my dream come true for you. You're like, wow, this is great. And then you've been like on the road, Super Bowls and AFC title games, and you're like, wow, I've seen the country pretty much.
And we played a lot of games during that span too. I mean, it's been 3 full seasons. I've covered the team prior to this, but I've been in Kansas City for a long time. But yeah, just having 4 straight AFC Championship games, 2 trips to the Super Bowl. They've been prepared for long seasons, and so we're trying to remind everybody this doesn't happen everywhere because things can even the Bucks, who the Chiefs got thumped by just 2 years ago in the Super Bowl. We saw how far they have fallen in short order. So we try to remind everybody around here that it can dissipate quickly, but the Chiefs have done a really good job of kind of backfilling and turning over the roster and making savvy moves in that regard to try to keep this thing extended further and further out. But it's amazing to think that, the worst case scenario over the last 4 years has been out in the AFC Championship game. That's not a bad living.
No, and I know the Cowboys need a place kicker, so they're probably going to call somebody this week, because I can't believe he missed 4 extra points, and they were calling him a Chuck Knobloch on Twitter. I'm like, what? It's like, he's not a Chuck Knobloch. That's a whole different story. That's a whole different baseball.
Hey, we've had some kicker issues in Kansas City way back when.
Yeah.
We normally don't utter that one particular kicker's name here in town, but and then they've had some hiccups there in the kicking game this year. Harrison Butker is really, really good. I think behind Justin Tucker, he might be the second best kicker in the NFL. But even this year, he's had a few issues, and they've had some issues in special teams that hopefully have been rectified. Certainly with a couple weeks of practice leading up to this one, I'm hoping that isn't the case. But I know fans a little bit around here, they get a little shy about some special teams gaffes at times. So I suppose they can feel, I don't know if anybody can feel the Cowboys pain though. 4 extra points missed. That that poor guy looked like he wanted to be anywhere other than in that stadium Monday night.
Exactly. Matt, you got a question for Josh real quick?
Yes, Josh. So given that Trevor Lawrence with the Jaguars had 4 interceptions, he went through for 4 interceptions, and then he came back and still won that game. What do you think the Chiefs are going to have to do in order to win the game?
Yeah, certainly they know that the Jags are okay with digging out of deficits. The Chiefs have done that over the last few years too. I think neither team feels like they're probably ever out of a football game. Again, uncharacteristic for Trevor Lawrence last week, and then the ability to bounce back. A lot of other quarterbacks, they may have gone in the tank. A team may have gone in the tank as badly as they played in that opening half. So to be able to turn it around, stay in a game, and keep going, certainly means that the Chiefs can't expect them to go away if they are able to get a lead and try to push out. Don't expect the Jags to go away. That Week 10 matchup, they really didn't. Although the Chiefs were in control the entire game, they could never knock out the Jaguars. And again, that's when they were just trying to figure out their footing. They have learned a lot since that point in time. So I don't think it's going to be an easy out by any means. I think it's whoever plays the cleanest football. And I think if the Chiefs play clean football, they're tough to beat by anybody. There's just been times where they've kind of fallen into the trap of turnovers. Stay away from that. And I think they're in really good position, not only Saturday, but for the rest of the postseason.
That's true. Well, Josh, let me let you go. So thank you so much for coming on. And Chiefs and Jags 4:30 on NBC or on Peacock if you have the streaming service, or if you're on the XM radio area, you can probably find them on the Chiefs broadcast on XM radio.
Darn straight. I'm glad we're playing the first game too, because it was excruciating to sit around and watch football last week. As great as the bye is, it was stressful. I'm glad they're playing the first game. So you don't have to sit around and watch more games before we get to ours. Should be fun on Saturday. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Josh. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Thanks, Josh.
All right, that's Josh Klingler, who is the sideline reporter for the Kansas City Chiefs. Big game on Saturday afternoon at 4:30. So the Chiefs are moving on. So we have to make a switch here because
so now everybody's taking their shirts off?
No, it's funny, Matt. I have all these different jerseys, so I could actually welcome my next guest, who basically is a Buffalo Bills alumni.
Wow!
And I got it because I felt bad for DeMar. Hopefully he was doing fine with this EJ Manuel's number, but let's bring in Steve Tasker, so makes him feel like he's just like at home with the with the Bills jerseys on and all that stuff. So, hi Steve, how you doing? Happy holidays.
How you guys?
Can you hear us? Hold on. I guess it's a mic issue. Hold on.
There you go.
There we go.
There you go, Steve.
How's
All
that?
right.
Yeah, how's that? Sorry. Probably apologize.
That's okay.
That's me. It's user error. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. Thank you so much for coming on tonight. Big game this weekend. This is actually the game that everybody pretty much wants to see after what happened in Cincinnati.
Yeah, there'll be a gajillion people watching this game, no question. It should be a really good game as well. The Bengals are going to come in; they're going to be highly motivated because in the aftermath of the Damar Hamlin incident and the game being canceled, the Bengals really are the team that got the shaft in the whole thing. Now they're going on the road to come to Buffalo when, in all reality, they had a chance to have the same game this weekend in Cincinnati again. If they'd have beaten the Bills in Week 17, they would have had the head-to-head in the same record if everything else falls the way it did. They got to be upset. Plus, not getting a chance at the 1 seed, not getting and then, they do get the championship game on a neutral field if they get by Buffalo. But this game against Buffalo, by all rights, they're feeling should have had a chance to be in Cincinnati. And for them to go on the road this weekend, they're using that I'm sure they're using it as fuel to fire them up.
Yeah. Well, Steve, do you like the way the NFL is doing with this neutral site for the title game? I feel like they should have done something better instead of saying go down to Atlanta and play a title game in Atlanta. I think he's frozen. I think we lost him here. You guys still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, I think the weather, because there's a lot of
Sorry about
weather
that.
here in Buffalo. That's okay. Can
I'm
you hear
still
us?
here. Are you guys all right? Sorry about
Yeah, we're
that.
good. That's all right. It's technology. You got to love it, you know? You know? Yeah. So what I was saying was, you know, with this game coming up.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, with the neutral site, I feel like
Head.
that means it's like giving a city of Atlanta another game. Yeah, it's like, okay, that's great to make it a neutral site, but you know, this room is for people from Buffalo have to travel down to Atlanta. People from Kansas City has to travel. Yeah, it doesn't feel like a home field advantage for anybody.
No, it's not going to be a home field advantage, but I'll say this: there's not going to be too many Atlanta Falcon fans in that stadium. That's for sure. The Chiefs and Bills will sell that thing out in a matter of hours. The league has forced both teams to start trying to sell tickets tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And both teams are like, what? You know, oh, that's great. You're really just going to like let us do that in front of the Cincinnati Bengals and give them all that motivation to come out and crush us for selling tickets to a game we haven't earned. So the same way, the Jaguars are going to be mad that the Chiefs are already selling tickets to a game they haven't earned yet. So those teams on the road this weekend are going to have a little bit extra fuel on the fire, not only for the Bengals having to go on the road in the first place to play the Bills, but to have both teams selling tickets to the championship game between the other two teams. Yeah. So the neutral site, a good idea. One knew that Cincinnati was going to be getting out of the schedule, and they were going to have to make a deep ruling as to how they ever going to be fair. There's just no way to make it fair. Cincinnati, Buffalo only played 16 games. Everybody else played 17. The games the reason that Monday night game was being watched by so many people because it was a big game. It was two good teams who had great seasons who everybody wanted to see, and because it mattered at this time of year.
Right.
So when they, had to, throw it off the schedule, what a wrench it threw into everything. So now, nobody's happy. What the solution's not perfect. They did the best they could. And Cincinnati will come into Buffalo highly motivated and rightfully so. And Jacksonville will go into Kansas City highly motivated and rightfully so.
Yeah. I saw that this morning in the press release. They're like, they're selling, like you said, you're selling tickets now. I'm like, can you just wait until like the Chiefs win on Saturday to start doing that? Because that to me, it's like you're showing other people, like, the other teams, like you said, like motivation to like, we're going to come in there and destroy you. It's like, have a nice day.
Yeah. Yeah. Both teams fought the league on it. And they couldn't get anything. The league wasn't listening and said, no, you got to start selling these. You got to get this done for I'm sure it's for the venue, for that kind of thing. But I don't know why the day that the tickets are, I don't know why that's such a big deal for the league, but it apparently was. And the league forced both teams to start doing it.
Right. Adam, you had a question for Steve?
First of all, Steve, I actually work with a huge Buffalo Bills fan at my grocery store here in North Carolina. So it's like when it comes to the game, when she and her sister and her whole family watching that game versus the Bengals on Monday Night Football, they start crying because they couldn't believe what happened. And it's like, but let's talk about the game. Let's talk about Josh Allen. He had a couple of interceptions on Sunday, and he's gonna have to turn that around against the Bengals. He's gonna have to have a clean game. So do you think it'll be a one-score game on Sunday up in Orchard Park?
I do. I think it's going to be a close game. I think both these clubs are going to come out with the ability to score a lot of points fast. But they also have two really good defenses. They're going to make some plays against them. And I think you're right. The thing that, the Bills were good enough to overcome their mistakes against the Miami Dolphins this last weekend. 3 turnovers. They were up 17-0. And then ended up, actually losing the lead early in the third quarter with a sack strip fumble. The Dolphins rolled the dice a little bit with their game plan. They went man-to-man with 0 safety help and over the top. They brought extra pressure on an enormous percentage of snaps, and they were going to go for broke, and that was their only hope. And certainly it did lead to some Buffalo mistakes, but good enough to overcome their own mistakes and go ahead and score enough points. Going to score 34 points in the game and win it. So those kind of things the Bills can overcome against a team like Miami. Cincinnati, probably not.
That's right.
They're gonna have to play a much cleaner game against Cincinnati. But the simple fact of the matter is this: when the Bills play their game and they don't make mistakes, you can't beat them. I mean, they're just that out. The Titans found that out. The Rams found that out. When they play their game, they're one of those teams you just can't beat. The question is, can Cincinnati's defense force Josh Allen into some mistakes, and vice versa? The Bills take advantage of Joe Burrow if he makes any mistakes. That's really what this game is going to come down to. I think it will be a very close football game, and I think it's going to be an exciting game to watch. There's a lot of really good players on both these clubs.
Yeah. Well, Steve, the weather might be a factor because it's snow this time of year. And up there in Buffalo, we talked about it a couple of weeks ago with you on, with that big blizzard and everybody was trying to get home and, and you were saying you had to get someone to plow you out, neighbors and all that stuff. How bad is the snow going to be this Sunday? Because it's going to be 3:00 and it's going to snow during the daytime.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might be another issue.
It a chance for some flow. 20, be 25 or push above the rain. It'll be snow. You kind of hope play. I don't think the weather at this point will be a huge factor. I think it's going to be okay. I think they'll be fine.
Okay, cool.
And they'll be able to, to function in that as well. So I don't think the weather will be as huge a factor in this game as it might be. Now, certainly it could, but as of right now, it looks like it's going to be very playable.
Okay, good. Hey, Matt, you got a question for Steve Tasker?
Yes, Steve. So since both of these teams have really good defenses, do you think that the first to 20 will win, or do you think that's just going to be a high-scoring game?
I think it might be the first one to 30 or 35 to win. It might, and maybe 40. I think these teams are going to be able to score, particularly if like I said, if the weather's okay and there's no wind. Yeah, I think it might turn into a possession game. If each team has 8 to 10 possessions, they're going to score on 4 or 5 of them, 5 or 6 of them. So that's going to be the difference. I think it's going to be a 25 to 35 point game for both these clubs. And the last team with the ball is going to have a chance to win, depending on how much time's left on the clock.
That's what I'm thinking too, Steve. I think it's going to be like the first to 40. I mean, it's going to be, you're mentioning, both these offenses are really, really strong. I mean, look at Joe Burrow. He's always been really good in really big games. You think about what he did in LSU in the national championship game, the national semifinal game, and now here in the NFL, it's like 2 outstanding quarterbacks, and one player's going to have another big game, and that's Gabe Davis, and what he did on Sunday against Dolphins, and Stephon Diggs too. So, you think Diggs and Gabe Davis are going to have to have another huge game in order to beat the Bengals on Sunday and sacking Joe Burrow at least 2 to 3 times by the defense?
Well, I think the best players on your team have to play well. No question about it. That means Steph Diggs, Josh Allen, Singleton. I think they're going to have to get contribution from everybody. And I think the way that it went against the Dolphins is a precursor to that. I think, give us a cold pass here, catching passes that were really crucial in the game. I think it's going to be all hands on deck for these games, for the divisional round, championship, and the Super Bowl. I think you need hands on deck. Those guys have to all show up and play their best. And if somebody's going to come through, and it could be that Gabe Davis only has 3 targets on the game, but he's got to make the most of those. And same thing, Steph Diggs may get 10 targets, he may get 15 targets, and Khalil Shakir may get 8 targets out of the blue, that kind of thing. But whoever's called upon, and it may be different guys, they all got to step up and be ready. I think these defenses, both these clubs have defenses that are good enough to dictate to each offense, say, listen, Steph Diggs isn't going to beat us, or DeMar Chase isn't going to beat us. Those guys aren't. T. Higgins isn't going to beat us. They can take guys away. One of these defenses can. Can the others step up? Certainly, the pass rush is going to be huge for both these clubs. The injuries, the Cincinnati offensive line is going to be an extremely important development during this week. They went through the first 15 regular season games of the season with the same 5 starting offensive linemen. 3 of those guys now are doubtful. Lyle Collins is not coming back. He's out. Kappa may come back with a guard with an ankle. And, of course, Jonah Williams, who dislocated his kneecap on Sunday night's game, is a question mark. If Kappa and or Jonah Williams come back and can play effectively, Cincinnati gets a huge boost from those guys. If they're not there, Joe Burrow's they're going to have to change their game plan offensively, in my opinion. I think the Bills will be good enough up front to force them into doing something that they wouldn't really otherwise do if their offensive line was healthy.
Exactly. Well, Steve, let me let you go. I appreciate you coming on tonight, and I hope everything goes well in Buffalo, and it'll be a great game. And hopefully we'll have this whole thing taken care of, and and the Bills could probably get to the Super Bowl the first time since you guys were there.
Well, we'll see. It'll be fun to watch. Good luck to you guys. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I enjoyed it.
Go Bills Mafia. Go Bills Mafia.